Welcome to Find Your Tribe podcast. We're broadcasting from beautiful Portland, Oregon. My name is Annie Lavender Weller. I'm a member of the Turtle Mountain Band, the Chippewa Indians, and co-founder of the Leadership Lab, which is a career, academic, and transitional coaching nonprofit. I'm also a serial entrepreneur, author, and International Coaching Federation, ACC certified business coach and consultant. Welcome to my podcast, Find Your Tribe. If you hear a barking dog in the back, that's Miles. My husband, Michael, is still out of town, so he's coming to the studio with us.
Yeah, and apparently he hears someone. He is not saying hello. He's like, what are you doing here?
It was another dog barking.
Yeah, it was.
Anyways, this is Annie Weller. I am a entrepreneur, small business coach, and also co-founder of the Leadership Lab.
And my name is Destiny, and I am a academic and life coach, and also the co-founder of Leadership Lab. Sorry, I'm like a little distracted. There's a lot happening in our world right now.
A lot has happened, as probably everybody knows. Orlando, the worst mass shooting that we've had
ever
in the United States. It's just heartbreaking.
It is, and especially with Pride coming up and that kind of thing. I mean, we're not going to dwell on it tonight, but we thought it's important to mention it and to kind of, give our love and thoughts and
our positive vibes, and it's just really sad and depressing.
Yeah,
so
it's awful.
It is. So, anyways, let's get to something a little more joyous. So other than that, let's check in. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I leave for Europe in 2 weeks and just feel like I have a lot going on, moving like 1,000,000 miles a minute. And so it's definitely like, what's happening? Like very distracted, and I'm trying very hard to center myself and just kind of like stay on the track that I need to be.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep my head above water. Michael's still out of town, doing his army stuff. I know he can't wait to come home.
Yeah, right.
I haven't even talked to him. We've been texting each other periodically, but I'll get a text at 4 o'clock in the morning when he wakes up.
Oh, that's so early.
Yeah, I don't answer usually, and he'll answer like 3 hours later kind of thing. But I have, since he's been gone, I've exercised every single day, either CrossFit, yoga, or spin class.
That's amazing.
Except Friday. Friday, I came home, and I was just like, I was going to go to yoga, and I got a little behind, and I was like, I can't do it. I just...
There are times when it's just like, no.
Yeah.
Nope, can't do it. I'm shutting down.
And I think also, Sunday is when we found out about the whole thing, and I went and did yoga Sunday morning, and I think that really helped keep me grounded and made me move forward. I stayed off social media all day.
Which is smart because there's been some pretty intense stuff on there.
And I also turned off the TV kind of thing. So, but today we are going to be talking about strengths versus challenges.
Yes, which is so important because understanding what your strengths are helps to support you in building, kind of getting past challenges, and vice versa, understanding what your challenges are. And it's funny, we actually just had a workshop on this, was that this past Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. That's crazy.
That's insane.
It felt like it was a long time ago. But yes, it was just last week. And, one of the things, we say strengths versus challenges. We don't say weakness.
No.
Weaknesses is a dirty word. It's like saying the F-bomb in front of your mother.
Yes. It's not good because the reality is weaknesses makes it sound like it's bad, like a challenge is a bad thing. And a challenge isn't a bad thing. A challenge is a part of who you are. Everyone has them. And understanding what they are and using language like challenges. When you're challenged, you can get past it. You can work on a challenge. A weakness is like, it's a weak piece of the board and it's just going to break and then it's done.
So I know when we did the life wheel, so our core 5, the first thing that we do is doing a life assessment. We do that life wheel to recognize strengths. We do talk about challenges, but we really focus on people's strengths when we're doing that life wheel. So what kind of strengths do you feel that most people are lacking?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I would say a lot of people are lacking effectiveness and grit. And by those,
You love that word grit.
I do. I love it. I've taken a lot of classes in this and done a lot in it. So,
can you explain what grit is?
Grit is, for our listeners who haven't heard of the word before, grit is your ability to stick with something and not let go. Right? To just say, I'm going to get past my challenges. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. It's what gets you to the end of a degree. It's what gets you that job. It's my grammar is terrible. It's what will help you to get past a tough childhood, whatever it is. Even if it's just like it's staying with a diet, it's eating, whatever those things are. You had grit this week, right? When it comes to going to the gym. But
I rewarded myself with chocolate milk.
Exactly. It's a reward thing, though. Like,
it's kind of sad. I'm really excited about chocolate milk.
Have you tried chocolate almond milk?
No, that doesn't sound that awesome.
Oh, anyways, it's so good. It's so good.
Side tangent. Okay, so strengths. So,
what about you? What do you think?
In regards to strengths, I agree with the grit. In regards to strengths, it's something that comes from the fire of your belly.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, it's something that you're really good at.
Yeah.
You know, some people are really good at running. Some people aren't good at running. Some people are good, like, okay, I can throw a ball straight, but it isn't pretty.
Yeah.
What else?
It's
I'm
interesting
trying to think strengths.
Well, it's interesting because, like, I have, for example, I'm really good at kind of like laughing at myself and like taking things usually in stride. One thing I'm not terribly strong at is, I would say, a lot of times physical stuff, right? I try to be more.
I like the fact that it took you a while to think about a non-strength.
It did, weirdly. Yeah, it took me a second.
Because we honestly I had to train myself not to think of my weaknesses and my challenges. Because if I did that, I'd feel sorry for myself and I would probably, who knows where I would be right now.
And that's a big thing we talk about, honestly, in our workshop and just kind of in coaching in general. That's a great point. Most people are really good at saying what's wrong with them. Oh, I don't feel like I'm very smart. I don't feel like I'm very X, Y, and Z. I always give up on stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they don't recognize all of the great things. Like, I've worked with so many people who are like, God, I'm so bad in classes. Like, I'm failing my classes, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, okay, that's true. That's a valid point. You totally are. And we're going to work on that. But you are working 2 jobs and supporting 3 kids, and you're doing amazing things.
Yep.
Use that.
Yep.
And people don't often put them together, right? They don't see how, like, oh,
they just think it's like life and what they have to deal with.
Yeah, it's just like,
this is what my cards, and this is what I have to do.
Yeah. This is what I have to do. This is what I have to do to get by. And it's like, that
is amazing.
That's a strength.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can turn that into something other. Something other.
It's true.
Something else. We have really bad grammar today.
I know. So bad. It's
Is
something.
do we have a case of the Mondays or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what about challenges?
Yeah, that's a good question. What about them? I would say it's important to, like we were talking about, it's important to recognize them, right? But not to dwell. And that's it's funny because it sounds so easy. I've had so many people tell me, like, oh, Destiny, so easy for you to say that. Like, you're not living my life. You don't see what I have to do. And I'm like, well, I've been there. Like, definitely been there. But I think there's all different kinds of strengths and challenges, right? There's emotional strengths, there's physical strengths and challenges, there's mental, there's professional, personal.
I have a lot of mental challenges. I'll just let you know. Like when we were here and you got Sam and you were picking on me about Sam the therapist were picking on me about usually when Sam the therapist is in, it's therapy time for Annie. But I have a lot of mental roadblocks in regards to, like, I love working out. Obviously, I worked out 6-7 days.
Yeah.
In the last 8 days straight.
That's amazing.
But before that, I couldn't do that for some reason. Like, I had some mental block, some challenge. And I don't know why. And it drives me crazy because I know how great I feel afterwards. But I just had that challenge.
Yeah.
That mental roadblock challenge. And it just was so frustrating. And it still is frustrating.
It is. It's hard sometimes.
It is. And, some other challenges I have, interpersonal challenges when, you have a friend of a friend and you don't really like this friend kind of challenge. I've had professional challenges where you have to work with somebody that's very difficult to work with. Trying to think of other, another challenge is in my past job, I wasn't from that industry. And so I had a huge challenge of where I had to learn that industry as quickly as possible. And try to pretend. I don't know if that's a good word.
You fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I had to really fake it till I make it. Or made it.
So I'm curious. So we're talking about the challenges that you feel like you have. How did you – it sounds like you leveraged your strength. So what do you feel like flipping that around you learned from those encounters? Because those were specific examples of things that you've done. So, like, what did you learn from those? Like, where did you go from there?
So one of the things that I think I learned the most was how to plot your strengths. How to apply your strengths to your challenges.
Yep.
So faking it till you make it. What am I really good at that I can cover up what I don't know and fix it on the back end if I absolutely have to.
Exactly.
Or who can I rely on to help me fix it or to teach me? Which
is huge. I think this is another thing that's such a great point is the fact that we're not islands, right? We're definitely individuals, but we're individuals within a culture of support and help. And if you have challenges that you feel like, man, I could really use some help. I could use a coach. I could use a friend to talk to. Man, I'd love to leverage this person. Oh my gosh, I'm not a very good technical writer and I need to be a good technical writer for work. But this person I work with is so good. What if you traded skills with them? What if you taught them how to knit and then they taught you how to be a better technical writer?
Is that really good? I don't know. That's a fair trade.
It was the first thing I thought. I was like, I think it's because you knit so much. So I was like, oh, knitting.
I love you so much. That is hilarious.
Knitting for technical writing.
I think that, hey, Greg, can I trade you for knitting?
Right?
I'll teach you how to knit sometime. Okay, so one of the things that I think is important to remember is using challenges as a way to get better. And, the example of me not knowing very much about the industry, and then I was able to stay in that industry for 3 years, after learning. And I still had challenges, but mostly it was interpersonal challenges that I had. But, I was able to really build my strengths and become better at conquering challenges and feeling more confident in being able to get over that hurdle. And at the same time, I learned stuff.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. Like we harp on making, I almost want to say making challenges your bitch, but like basically getting past them, right? And that's a perfect example. You go into a situation, you're feeling very, very challenged. It would have been incredibly easy for you to just be like, ugh, screw it. This sucks. I'm just going to go back to what I've done before. This isn't worth my time. But you used grit and you stuck with it. And then you got better. And that is a prime example. If you're faced with a challenge, if you're faced with something that feels insurmountable, assess the situation. If you can't see it because your head's so far in the weeds that...
I was going to say up your butt.
Sometimes it is. Right? Sometimes you're just like so up in your head and you're just like, what am I doing? Like, I'll never get past this. Taking the time to like step back and look at it calmly and assess the situation. And you'd be amazed at how you can see your way around it. I use the example sometimes with students of, you're going down this road and you're so focused on your destination, you're not looking to the left and the right. And all of a sudden you get the road, there's this huge boulder that blocks the entire road. And you're looking and you're like, I can't ever get past this. The road's completely blocked. I have to live here now. I just should turn around.
Yeah.
But if you take a step back and like zoom out, you notice that on the side of the road, there's a way around it. You just drive on the gravel for a second and get back on the road.
Yeah. There's always going to be side gravel.
There's always side gravel. And
Like side boob.
There's both.
There's always side boob.
There's both of them.
Sorry.
You're out of control tonight.
I know. I think it's the chocolate milk.
I think it's the chocolate milk and the yoga. It's like an every week thing now. Anne's going crazy.
I know. I laugh about knitting and side boob.
Right?
I don't know why that popped in my head either. People are going to think I'm really weird. That's okay. That's one of my strengths.
Exactly.
I'm really weird.
It's a strength.
So, what kind of tools can we use? And I wrote down a couple.
What are your tools?
So, one of the things is the life wheel. I think that life wheel is really important because one of the things that I noticed and, one of the takeaways that we talked about in the last podcast is people don't really have a strong foundation or know how to build a strong foundation. Their wheels are really lopsided.
Yeah.
Or hexagon or, I don't know, paragon? Is that a shape?
No. Like a hexagon, parallelogram. I don't know.
I like the paragon.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that you point that out because I think when their life wheels are off balance, it's interesting because you can look at it two ways. It could be that like everything's off balance and you need to get it in balance, or you can look at it that like, wow, one's really high and this one's really low. How do you use that one that's really high to bring the one that's really low up? Because it could be the opposite. The one that's low could bring the high one back down. But you want to use that high one so that all your numbers are going up. And sometimes you might have one part that's static while the other ones grow.
Yep. And you have to be honest, but you can't be brutal. I noticed one person in the class was very brutal, and the other one was completely opposite. And I was like, I know you think you're pretty cool, but
well, I think it's interesting. I've dealt with that too, where some people are just so used to recognizing their strengths, or some people are so
because they have to because it's what do you call it, like a mask maybe or a trigger or
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I used to look at it. I used to definitely see people who are really confident and be like, there's something wrong. But as time has gone on, I've realized that there are literally some people that are
just super confident
and really good at what they do. And I think it's important for them to approach it in such a way as like, hey, you might have an issue. Let's talk about it and let's not be overly confident because you're not the president. You're just a person. But also recognizing that some people really just do kind of have their shit together. Yeah. It's weird, though. It's hard to not look at it and be like, what's your problem, though?
People think that I have my shit together, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Are you pointing to me?
No, I'm pointing to myself sometimes. My wheel is just like all over the place right now.
I hear you. So another thing that I think is a great tool is, like we said, the life wheel. But I think writing down your strengths and doing a pro-con list, like maybe strengths and challenges, or maybe, side by side and see how you can match them, where you can take your strength and match it to one of your challenges that you're having and try to build a goal around that challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely agree. That's definitely like an advanced one. That's a good one. I hadn't actually thought about that before.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you. And that, goes down to plotting your strengths, doing kind of like a roadmap. And then I think another great way to look at challenges and a tool that you can use is other people's strengths, which we talked about earlier.
Taking a look at somebody else and not comparing, never compare, but seeing what they do and seeing what you admire and seeing if you have that within yourself, which is funny. That brings me to, because I have two that I think about, very similar. If you're having trouble recognizing your strengths, go out. This is going to sound weird, but go outside of yourself and look at yourself from somebody that loves and respects you. If it's a parent, it's a friend, a colleague, a boss, whatever. And try to look at yourself from their lens and not from your own, because you're your most critical person. But if you look at yourself as your boss and you're like, wow, my boss always tells me that, like, I'm really punctual and I'm really blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't see myself that way. Well, somebody else does.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody important does. Another really good one, it can put you vulnerable, but I've never seen this fail, is if you're really having trouble, and usually this is like, I want to figure out what my strengths are for a professional or whatever it is, sit down with some people, and it's actually kind of cool. So basically you all sit down, you all have a piece of paper, and then you write all of the strengths for each person in the room. You take like 10 minutes, and you go, okay, we're going to do Annie first. Everybody writes down every strength they can think about for you. And then everybody goes around the room, and they read all your strengths to you. And then the next person goes, the next person goes. And it's really hard at first. And not finding the strengths for another person, but accepting them.
Well, wouldn't you be worried about hurting people's feelings?
Yeah.
But no, I don't know.
Well, let's focus on the strengths. So that's the thing. You're not talking challenges. You're not saying, like, this is what's wrong. You're basically, it's a love fest, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you're going around the room and you're telling, and I've never seen somebody be like, well, you only have like 5 and I have 15. Like, literally everybody fills their pages up.
See, I would be really worried if I had done it with somebody that I worked with. Like, I would have a big 0.
And that's
that's just me being me.
Well, and that's
mean, I guess. I don't know. I just had an issue with that person at one time, and
it was
a major challenge.
Definitely was, and you don't do this with everybody.
But it could have helped our relationship, I bet you.
It honestly could have, because it lets you be real. And the times that I've done it, it's on a team of people, right, where we're all close and we all work collaboratively. This isn't something that you would do with someone that, like, you just met, or that you had a really like your relationship with that person wasn't a very good one. There are times that might be appropriate, but it's usually one that you do in a supportive environment.
Yep.
Not when you're like, man, I hate this dude. Let's figure out strengths, because then they're going to be like, well, your strengths is your dirt.
Find Your Tribe podcast is a conversation with guests addressing all aspects of what makes our businesses and personal lives unique. We will balance traditions with new methods, respecting the past while acknowledging the need to embrace new methods and technologies. Finding Your Tribe podcast uncovers the personalities behind the businesses, the leaders who paved the way, and the essential heart of what makes our tribes run. Please visit me at annieweller.com for more information.